Game 2 going down Tuesday night at the Barclays Center as the Liberty, they trailed the Sun 1-0 in their best-of-5 semifinal series. So let's break down what the team needs to do in order to tie the series at 1. And we're going to do that with Winsidr senior writer, co-host of Pull Up with Miles and Owen Pence, who joins us now. Owen, how's it going, man?
It's great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, we're doing a little bit better than the Liberty. They're down 0-1 in this series. We're hoping to see them bounce back, and we're going to see if they can do that on Tuesday night. So, Owen, anytime you have these must-win games in the playoff series, the superstar on the team, they're looked upon as the person that's got to deliver in these situations. Do the Liberty need a big-time game from their MVP, Brianna Stewart, in Game 2?
They 100% do. This is something that we haven't seen from Brianna Stewart very often in her career. If you look at her playoff statistics, she is as accomplished as it gets and has put up major numbers in the playoffs for years and years since she came into the league. We have not seen her struggle like this and been taken out of her element the way she has in the first round against Washington and then in Game 1 against Connecticut, shooting 7 for 25 on Sunday. Very un-Stewie-like behavior. They absolutely need a big performance from her. I think one of the things she needs to do, because you could see it on Sunday in Game 1, she's out of her rhythm. She's lacking confidence. A sign for me was that many times on Sunday, right after she shot the ball, she immediately followed it up to try to get the offensive rhythm because she knew it was off. And you don't usually see that from Stewie. Usually you see her holding the follow through and she knows it's cash. This was not the case in Game 1 against Connecticut. She needs to get back to her comfort zone, and I think that starts in the paint. She's shooting a lot of perimeter jumpers, a lot of three-pointers. Historically, she's been a very good three-point shooter. When she won MVP back in 2018, she shot over 40% from three. This year, she struggled from three, below league average behind the arc. She needs to get back in the paint and assert her dominance down low. That is where she just cannot be stopped, and that is the key for her to kind of gaining her rhythm back.
I wonder if we see her do that, assert her dominance in the paint, if we'll see more efficient numbers, as you're talking about there, and hopefully that can lead her to a big game. Now, multiple New York players, Owen, they said after Game 1 that they lacked energy on Sunday. The Sun, they came out, they played physical. How do the Liberty counter Connecticut's physicality and match their energy in this second game?
It's going to be really difficult. It was really shocking to hear the Liberty players and head coach Sandy Brondello after Game 1. Sandy said flat out, this was our worst game of the season. Everyone saw that they lacked energy and people were searching for answers. Oh, was it the 5 days off between clinching against Washington in Game 1? Was it the rainy weather? Was it the 1 p.m. start? But the truth is, there are no excuses to be made when it's Game 1 of the semifinals. You have to bring that energy, and that's exactly what Connecticut did in New York's building. For Game 2, New York is going to have to, from the tip, come out with that energy and passion that we've seen, especially throughout the second half of the season. And I think the key to answer your question is they got to mix it up a little bit. Connecticut is so good at anticipating what the other team's going to do. First-year head coach Stephanie White has this team in the film room. DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas love watching film and studying their opponents, and they were ready for all the set actions that Sandy Brondello and the Liberty usually run. So New York would try to get into its sets. Connecticut was there waiting, saying, oh, we know what's going to happen. We're forcing turnovers, getting out into transition and scoring. New York's going to have to be the aggressor in Game 2, and New York's going to have to take them by surprise and kind of go against what they normally have done in the regular season, switch it up so that they can gain the advantage.
Well, that's the thing about the playoffs right there, Owen. It's always about adjustments. And you said something that's really good. Nobody wants to hear excuses. You can't blame it on the weather. I don't like this cloudy, rainy weather that we have. You can see it right behind me. I don't like it at all. But no excuses. We're here bringing the energy, right? We're still bringing the energy. That's what you got to do. Well, speaking of Connecticut, you talked about what they did well, Owen. They have the second best net rating in the postseason. What have they been doing so well throughout the WNBA playoffs? They've had 4 games now. What has been going so well for Connecticut here?
How impressive is this Sun team? It's ridiculous to me. Every year we see this, where they look so good in the regular season, playoff time comes around, and everyone's kind of like, talking about other teams and pushing the Sun to the side. And this fuels them. You see it. It goes back to what I just said to your last question. It's the anticipation. To me, it starts with their defense. They fly around defensively, and they're so disruptive. This is what Stephanie White talked about after game one, is being disruptive, disrupting Stewie's rhythm, disrupting Sabrina Ionescu's rhythm, disrupting Betnijah Laney's rhythm. That is what they do so well. They anticipate these actions. They get into passing lanes. They pressure the ball handler, and they force turnovers. And once they get into transition, you already know they're going to score the ball because they have Alyssa Thomas, who is truly unstoppable in transition, a point forward, and one of the best 3 players in the league this season. I think the other thing is timely shooting. The defense can get you so far, but ultimately you have to put the ball in the basket. That is what this team has done really, really well over the course of the season. We're seeing DeWanna Bonner at age 36 coming off one of the worst seasons of her Hall of Fame career and stepping up when it matters in the third quarter of game one, just filling it up, hitting really difficult shots over good defense. A player like Rebecca Allen, who used to play for the Liberty, coming back into her old building and hitting 3 after 3 after 3, not to mention some little, patented reverse layups in there as well. The role players are stepping up, and their superstars are bringing it. They're bringing the energy. Defensively, they're flying around. Offensively, they're hitting tough shots. And then the last thing is rebounding. They out-rebounded New York in game one, and ultimately that's been the key for the Liberty in the second half, surging them into the 2 seed and really fueling their great play has been that they've dominated the boards. They did not dominate the boards in game one, and they will need to in game 2 if they want to even this series up.
Gonna have to do a better job on the glass, and as you mentioned, they were so fantastic with that in the second half of the season. All right, here we go, Owen. Game 2 at the Barclays Center Tuesday night. Besides Stewie stepping up, which players will be the X factors to the Liberty knotting this series at a game apiece?
You can go so many different ways because this team is deep. They have so many key contributors. I'm going to throw 2 names at you. The first being Betnijah Laney. I said to multiple people after game one, that was her worst game in 2 or 3 months. She has been exceptional for New York. Early in the season, she was bringing her usual all-defensive energy, but offensively, she seemed to be relegated to being a spot-up shooter from 3. She wasn't super involved in the flow of the offense. Second half of the season, she's been incredibly involved in the flow, doing everything. Elena Deladon called her a Swiss Army knife offensively because she can do it all. And in game one, she scored the first bucket of the game and only scored 1 point the rest of the way. She just didn't seem to have the usual pop and energy that she displays every single game and frankly, every single practice when you cover this New York Liberty team. I expect her to come out and be really sharp tonight. She is so competitive. She's such a hard worker. She's not going to let that dud be followed up by another dud. She's going to come out really strong tonight and will be a major key for New York. And then off the bench, Kayla Thornton. She was plus 10 in game one, despite New York losing by 15. That is really difficult to do. She gave the Liberty 19 really solid minutes. KT just does all the dirty work. She jumps on the floor for loose balls. She'll tip an offensive rebound to someone else, gain New York an extra possession, they get a bucket, and she can knock down open threes. She is a really underrated player for New York, and frankly, she's been their 6th player and the first player off the bench. They need her to come with that same energy, especially defensively, because she's going to be tasked with guarding DeWanna Bonner, guarding Alyssa Thomas, guarding the best players Connecticut has. And I think KT and Betnijah could really spark New York tonight.
Yeah, one of the things I'm really looking to see tonight's game is, will we see some lineups or more minutes where we see KT and Betnijah together on the floor with their size and their length and what they can do defensively in this matchup in Game 2. Game 2 tonight at the Barclays Center. As I said before, it's raining. It's dreary outside. Liberty, expecting them to bring the energy. You saw Owen bring the energy. I'm going to bring the energy, of course, as always, too. That is Owen Pence. He is the senior writer, co-host of Pull Up with Miles and Owen. Go check that out. Owen, you brought the energy today. Thanks for the time. We will talk after Game 2.
Always, Dexter. Appreciate it so much.